Good morning, grade 6. How are you today? I hope you are fine. Today we will review what we took in side the class about decimal place value, chapter 5. And then we will move on with our objectives. So first of all, we studied that when we want to count, we use the base 10 number system in order to count items. For example, to count 235 apples, I'm using the place values ones, tens, and hundreds. Okay, so as you see in the following pictures. So we use the hundreds as in this example, 2 is in the hundreds place. Okay, and if you can see, I put them inside big jars. Each jar contains 100 apple. And we will move on by going to the tens place. And if you can look carefully, you can see we have 3 tens. So we have 3 baskets. Each basket contains 10 apples. And as usually, we will go forward to the ones digit. And in this example, we have only 5 whole apples. So the total number is 235, as you can see. But what if I don't have a whole apple? What will happen? How can I count these or this following item? So, first of all, we know that whole numbers starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. If maybe I have one apple, I can have 1 apple or 2 apples. What if I have 1.5 apples? So here we are using the decimal places, as you can see. So here we have the 1.5 apple, a number which comes between the number 1 and number 2. Okay, so decimal places are numbers using to count parts of things. Did you look at the picture? It is parts of things. So decimal, it is parts of things. Okay, this is so important. So I will give you a real example to show you what I'm explaining about. Here we have a whole apple. Whole apple, it is a complete apple. I want to divide this apple into 10 equal parts. If you look carefully, a tenth, I'm dividing it into 10 equal parts. And now I took 1 part out of 10. What do you think now I'm speaking about? Of course, it is the form of a fraction. Yes, 1 part, okay, out of 10. So the number that sits at the top, it shows, parts you have. And the number that sits at the bottom, it shows the total number of parts. So 1/10 in the form of a fraction, 1 out of 10. So here we start with the first thing about the 10th place, okay? So decimals is a little like fraction, and you will see. So what are decimals? Decimals are parts of whole things. They are little like fractions, but we write them in different way. Decimals are widely used in everyday life. We see them frequently in money and in measurements of length, area, weight, and so on, to express smaller quantities than the unit. Decimal numbers have a decimal point, and all of you agree with this one, okay? This separates the whole numbers on the left from the decimal part numbers on the right. Okay, to show you more and to be more interesting in decimal number places, if you can see, we have a decimal point in the following picture, and we have 3 places here, and there is the word smaller. If you look carefully, we have the apple that we divided into 10 equal parts, and we took the first part. It shows the 10th place. So pay attention. The first number that comes to the right side of the point, we call it the 10th. Okay? The 10th. For example, in this picture, if you can look carefully at the whole part, we have one whole apple. So at the left side, I write number 1 since we have a whole apple. Whereas on the right side, if you can see beside the point, the tenths place. So count the tenths now. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So here we have 9 tenths. The 9 sits on the tenths place. So what we have in total? 1.9 tenths. We have one whole apple at the whole part and 9 tenths on the decimal part. Okay, look carefully here. What do I have? One whole apple, and let me count the decimal part, the tenths, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So here we have 10 out of 10. Oh, we have now a whole apple. So what would be the next number? Can you answer me? Of course, you will get 2 whole apples now. If you look carefully, we have 2 whole apples and we don't have a decimal part, we don't have tenths. So implies we have 2 whole apples and there is no here tenths, so 0.0, as if I'm saying that I have 2 whole apples. Okay, so till now we understand that decimal numbers are made of 2 parts, that it is separated by a decimal point. So look carefully, I will give you an example here. 3.61. Okay, so here, for example, the 3 is in the whole part. So here the whole part. Yes. And on the right side, we have the decimal part. Yes. And the 2 are separated by a decimal point. Till now, is everything clear? Okay, so let us move on. What if I take this tenths and eat a little bite? Okay, what happens here? We took a small piece, yes? So after the 10th place, we have the hundredths. So if you can see this 10th, I took one part of it, and here we get the hundredth. So beside the 10th place, there is the hundredth place. Okay? Look carefully. If I'm going to the right side, from the 10th to the hundredth, I'm getting bigger or smaller. Look, this is the 10th, and this is the hundredth. I'm getting smaller. So implies in the decimal number places, as I'm going forward, the number becomes smaller and smaller. Okay, so is this clear till now? Here we have the whole 100 parts, if you can see. Okay, and here we took one part of it and we get the 100th. Let us look here in this example. What I have? Sorry. I have a whole apple here, yes or no? No, I don't have a whole apple. So at the whole part, we have 0. We have parts of apple. So here we start with the decimal part. First, we agree that the number that comes beside the decimal point at the right side, it is a tenth. So how many tenths is here? Yes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 tenths. And how many hundredths? 1 and 2. So the answer is 0.42 hundredths. Let us read the second example. 0.43 hundredths. And here, 0.93 hundredths. So, as I told you, here are examples of decimal numbers. 4.6 tenths, since in the tenths place. 2.67 hundredths, in the hundredths place. What comes after the hundredths? Yes, it's similar. The thousandths. We are adding THS. Okay, so this example, 19.409 thousandths. So at the first part, we have the whole part. And here on the right side, we have the blue ones. We have the decimal part. And they are separated by a decimal point. Here there is a table to show you the place value of each digit. So, if you look carefully, we have the unit and the tens and the hundred and the thousand. So as I'm moving to the whole part from the unit till the tens, I'm getting bigger 10 times, yes? So look carefully, we start with the unit, the 1, then the 10, tens, the 100, and the 1,000. So I'm getting bigger and bigger to the whole part. Yes, at the left side. Now, what is the opposite of the times? Of course, it is the divide. So if I'm moving to the left side, I'm doing times 10. If I'm going to the right side, I will divide by 10. Okay, so dividing this one by 10, we get the 10th. And after that, the 100th and the 1,000th. Okay, so it is important to remember where each digit stands for in a number. This is called the place value. Is this clear till now? Okay, so here an example, 17.591 thousandths, since the last digit in the thousandths. So the first part, we call it the whole part that contains the units and the tens as we usually know them. And here the decimal point that separates the whole part from the decimal part. The first digit on the right side, we call it the tenths. And the second one, the 9 here in this example, it is the hundredths. And the 1 is the thousandths. So decimal numbers are used in situations in which we look for more precision than whole numbers provide. In order to do that, we define a tenth, each part that we get when we divide something in 10 equal parts. It is represented by 1 out of 10. So this is the form of the fraction. And the form of the decimal is 0.1, or we can read it 1/10. Okay? As we said before, decimal numbers are a little like fractions. So 100th, 1 out of 100th, we write it 0.01. Since it is at the hundredth place. So 1 is in the hundredth place. Here the tenth is, we don't have, so it's 0. And beside it, we have the hundredth. And at last, we have the thousandth. So 1,000th, 0.001. Okay. So as you see in this picture, the tenth, the hundredth, the thousandth, and here the 10,000. Okay, and these we solve them inside the class. Okay, the practice activity C and the homework, we solve them inside the class at the previous hour. Okay, how to read or write a decimal number? As I told you before, first of all, we read the whole part, 46. Read the whole part, number part. The second step to read the decimal point as the word point or end. So we can say 46 point or 46 and. The third step is to read the decimal part as if it were a whole number. So read it, all of it together at the decimal part. What do you see here? 37. So read it, all of it together. So 46.37 or 46 and 37. The last step is to say the place value of the last digit. So here the 7, where it is in the hundreds. So how we read it? 46 and 37 hundredths. Is this clear? Okay, till here we will get a short break and then we will come back. See you.